All right. Another amazing episode of Listen Motherfucker. I have the privilege of having a chance to sit down and talk with Kat Finnerty. And she wrote, I think it came out in 2023. You wrote a book called Never Let a Good Disaster Go to Waste. And are you actually the master of disaster? Would you say that about yourself?
Yes. If there's such a thing, I am a self-certified master of disaster.
Got it. Got it. Well, like I was telling you before I hit record, I haven't had a chance to go all the way through it. How much I have read, I have thoroughly enjoyed it. It is it is incredible. Just real quick, I'll tell everyone how we met, but tell us a little bit about yourself without us having to dive into the book and about your story. You're in Australia. Obviously, we can tell by your amazing voice that you are from Australia.
No, Thad, you've got it all wrong.
Oh no!
First of all, right now I'm on a tiny little island in the middle of the South Pacific called Espiritu Santo. It's in Vanuatu, and which, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of near Fiji. And I'm actually originally from Canada, but I've been in Australia since '96. Well,
Got
I
it.
sort of live everywhere. I'm actually someone of no fixed address.
Well, that's exciting.
I'm a woman of the world. Wherever I lay my hat, that's my home.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Well, I,
And
I
actually,
apologize.
what you might not know is I can probably get to it later, but the cover of my book is me in Vanuatu during a cyclone. And I came to Vanuatu for 2 weeks to write the final chapter and got stranded here. And I had no idea when I got here that this country is the most disaster-prone country in the world, voted by the UN, natural disaster prone. But it's got the happiest people in the world. So that's Vanuatu.
Hey, if the book is never let a good disaster to go to waste, it certainly found like you found the right spot to write the last portion.
I know, it's weird. Serendipitous.
Yes, yes, it is. And so uh, I I was diagnosed in 2018 with NMO, which is neuromyelitis optica, which is often misdiagnosed as MS. And I met, I was introduced to you because we were both on a MS support group of some. I don't even know which one it was. I belonged to a couple. It was on Facebook, and I'm pretty sure that you had posted a link to your book, or you had commented about something that I instantly found interesting and reached out to you on Messenger, and that's how we became connected.
I wasn't actually sure myself, to be honest,
Yeah.
because I am doing a lot of on lots of media tours. I'm on lots of shows and podcasts and TV. So, you sort of lose track of how you meet people. But yeah, a support group might be it because, and to be honest, I have had nothing to do with any support groups for probably 20 years because I just didn't want to be in that world. But having read a book about it's not about MS, but it is about my 30-year journey and overcoming so much of it. I felt compelled to help other people, and I thought the only way I can do it is really that's where they are. They're in the support group, so that's why I'm there now.
Yes, yes, I can only imagine how many people you've helped, and that it's an incredible thing to do to open yourself up that much, which I know is in itself is self healing to a certain level, but you still are opening yourself up so much for other people. It's just something truly genuine and sincere to be proud of, and I thank you for it. I thank you for being willing to come on here and talk about this, and for sharing your story.
Look, some people have said to me, how could you say the things you said? How could you be so open and raw? And to be honest, I wasn't at first. My book was very much a how to overcome suffering in 12 hours book. And then it turned into never let a good disaster go to waste. And as I was writing it, I was really pushed by people to just keep laying bare my soul. Those things that you never actually want to say or think, I had to put those thoughts into print. My dad was mortified. In fact, he didn't get very far through the book. But, to help others, I felt that I had to be completely honest. And say those things, the dark side that we all have, right? We have this dark side that we all have, but we don't like to look at it. But that shadow side is there. And, I'm not perfect. I don't want to write a book about, oh, look how great I am. I'm like, no, I'm a fuck up, actually. I'm a disaster.
Right.
But I know how to master them. And I'm certainly far from perfect, but there's never a disaster I can't master.
Yes, I can't wait to learn about that. Yeah, I have a couple of tattoos. My first tattoo is on my back shoulder, and it's these two evil eyes looking out, three tears by the claws. And and people, why did you get that? What was it? I go, well, it's my inner demon, because everybody has one, and I am not okay with not just being 100% me almost 100% of the time. So I'd rather just have everyone know. I wish people would just act how they actually are. How long does it take to really truly get to know someone? You rob yourself and everyone else of just so many good opportunities by being what you aren't.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, actually. An interesting question, because people always say, you do you, or be the true you. But to be honest, and no offense, and this is just my thoughts, I don't know who I am half the time. And so to say who is my true authentic self, I don't know. Always evolving, always changing, always introspective. And who knows?
I actually agree. And maybe I said it wrong. What it truly means is that I'm okay with just being either not necessarily even just in the moment. I'm okay with just being who I am at that time, or trying to be as real as I can, and people are either going to accept me for who I am, or they're not. And I think that what I've been through in life, that's what I've gotten mostly out of it. And we're going to end up getting, I have a couple of comments to some of your 12 principles that I don't question their validity in any way, because you can obviously prove that it works. I just know that a couple of them, knowing my personality, would be so hard to overcome. And I'm interested.
Well, I will challenge you on all of that.
Okay. Awesome. Well,
it's a choice. Okay. Hit me with it.
Okay. Here we go. So, in your book, you talk about your 12th birthday. Can you tell us about that day? And how did that shape the rest of your life? What happened around your 12th birthday, or on your 12th birthday?
Yeah, so to give this some context, I am the eldest of 5 children. And on my 12th birthday, I'll never forget the day. I was quite upset, actually, because I woke up and I was hoping my mother would call me and say happy birthday, but she didn't. But that day I went to school, and it was like a dream. It was literally like a movie. Everyone was saying happy birthday, and my birthday is September 24th. I was just at a new school. I just started grade 7. And all these people were giving me presents, and it was surreal, to be honest. And that afternoon, I got home from school, and I was wearing a new T-shirt someone bought me, tiny but tough. In fact, I got 2 of those because people knew me. And nice. I was standing there, and my grandparents and all this family was around. We had this tiny little house for 7 of us. My dad got home and said, your mother just died. And well, that moment you can never forget when you hear that someone that you love more than anything has just died. And it was a shock, even though at the time, and my youngest sister was just 3, so we were 3, 5, 7, 9, and I just turned 12. We knew she had a tumor. We were told as children my mother had a tumor, and we had no idea she'd been in a coma. And I found out that day, my uncle actually said to me that your mother, her dying wish before she slipped into a coma a week before my birthday was that she'd live to her firstborn's birthday. And at first I was like, so she chose to die on my birthday. And
Right.
at first it was upsetting, but now it's like such an incredible amount of strength, and it shows the amount of will and power that we have and intention when we choose to do something. She woke
Right.
up on my birthday out of a coma, and she was humming happy birthday. And my uncle actually thought she was getting better, and then she died not long after. So that was my 12th birthday, which set me up really to realize that nothing in our life is permanent. Nothing. You know, she was 37 years old, and she shouldn't have died, but she did. And that's life. My dad taught us that every single thing you have in this world, you will lose, whether you like it or not. My dad was born during the Second World War, you know, where people lost entire families. And he said it's never easy and it's not fair, but life is not fair. And you have a choice how you move on from this day forward. You can see this as a terrible tragedy, or you can use it as a source of strength. And so even though losing someone so close to you, it's horrible, you have a choice how long you suffer with it. And I choose to allow my mother's death to be a beacon of strength for me when I need it.
That is an incredible, and that's incredible for a 12-year-old to experience. And if you're the oldest, then I'm assuming that you were tasked with helping the rest of them somehow cope with it.
So my father had never even changed a diaper, you know. My dad was in Myrtle Beach golfing for 2 weeks a year and would leave my mom home. And everyone was really worried. They're like, how is this man going to raise these 5 children?
Right.
But my dad is the ultimate master of disaster. You know, I learned from the best, and he's incredible. He actually, from day when I was born, he labeled me as the child he should have drowned at birth. So I don't know that I was actually that great of a help. I was more of a hindrance. I was naughty. I was so naughty. You know, I was drinking at 15 and partying. My younger sister, my next in line, she was the perfect sister, the responsible one. I did have to babysit a lot, but I probably wouldn't actually recommend me as a babissitter.
That's hilarious.
I did feel like I had 4 children that I was responsible for a lot of the times, and my younger brothers and sisters. So a lot of that responsibility was put on me. But one of the most profound things I think that came out of that time in my life, when my father was a single dad to 5 children, we were all playing baseball and soccer and guides and hockey. My dad was a bank manager of a busy bank downtown Toronto. Never once did he say he was busy. He'd come home from work, he'd drop us all off, pick us up, do our homework. On the weekends, he'd be doing science projects and speech. He never once alluded to being busy or disgruntled. You know, he just complete radical acceptance. This is what happened. What needs to get done? Move on. And yeah, incredible.
How old were you when you think that you recognized, you wouldn't have called it master of disaster back then, but you still would have seen it. You would have seen this example. How old were you, do you think, when you started to realize what he was capable of, what the example that he was showing, whether it's, I mean, and it's not like he was doing it intentionally. He was doing what he had to do. And that was the example that you were able to see. You know what I mean? How old can you remember the first time you thought, holy, my dad is a badass?
I would never have called my father a badass, that's for sure. A pillar of strength and wisdom. But the thing was, with my father, I was really naughty. You know, I was raiding the liquor cabinet when I was quite young. But I never wanted to be seen that way by my father. Like, I tried to be a good girl, I just wasn't. You
Yeah.
know, he was really strict. Like, he'd take us to church every Sunday, and one time he caught me sneaking out of church. He went to church on Saturday nights, and Sunday mornings he dropped me off because I had to be a good Catholic girl. And you know, I'd let him drop me off, and then I'd run across the road to McDonald's and drink milkshakes. And
Of
I
course.
was devastated when he finally caught me, because in his eyes, I always wanted to be what he wanted me to be, but I was just such a rebel at heart. And that's why I think it's so important to bring kids up with good moral values. They may go a bit wayward, but if they have that structure, then
Yeah.
hopefully they don't go too far south.
Yeah, we could talk for an hour about right and wrong, and the difference between partying at a young age versus doing something that's like wrong. They are, to me, they are completely different. But
Yeah, I was
that's
like the naughty grandma. I was never that bad. I never got into drugs. I was just a naughty grandma. And, you know, my drinking got me into so much trouble. I mean, I accidentally joined the army when I was drunk once, you know, and ended up there. So, you know,
nice,
which actually was a good disaster that didn't go to waste, because I loved it. It was fun.
right? So we hinted that we met in an MS support group. So
Hmm.
you have MS.
Yeah, I was diagnosed when my first child was born. I'd already had symptoms though. So my first child was when I was 27, but I had my first symptoms from about 25. I'd been working out in the gym. I was a bodybuilder, like not a professional one, but I still do. I love lifting heavy things.
Okay.
And my right shoulder started getting sore. And then that progressed and progressed. Eventually I couldn't use my right arm at all. And so I got used to living without one limb. I couldn't write my name. That was about 4 months. I couldn't use my right arm at all. I couldn't pick up a pencil. I couldn't touch my nose. I couldn't do anything with this arm. So that was my first symptom. And they said, look, if it happens again, it's MS. And so my son was just born, got up to go feed him. My left leg didn't work, fell on my face. And I thought, it's happened again. And I knew right away. And that's when I was told, you know, I'd probably be in the wheelchair, but this is nearly 30 years ago.
Yeah.
And they said you'd likely be in a wheelchair by the time you're 40, don't have any more kids, and you'll be on these injections for the rest of your life. And I was just, I was resilient and I was strong. I'm like, that's not going to be me. You don't know me. I'm the master of disaster.
Right. And when was the first time that you saw somebody with MS? I mean,
Well, that's funny. Yeah.
did you ever pay attention before you started even heard the word MS because someone said that about you? Did you ever see or notice or think about MS prior to that situation with yourself?
So back in my bodybuilding days, I was at this gym, and one of the guys was part of a bachelor auction for the MS Society. It was a really glitzy event. And we went there. It was like $300 a ticket. And just before the event started, this woman that had MS got on stage. She was in a wheelchair. She was really pretty. And she told us the story how she got married, she had a child, you know, and she was looking forward to her life, got MS, and then really not long after that was put in a nursing home. She couldn't look after her kid, her daughter, or her family. And I remember sitting at this bachelor auction and thinking, if anything like that ever happened to me, I wouldn't want to live. I wouldn't want to live like a prisoner in my own body. And that was the only person I'd ever really seen at that time in my life that had MS. So when I was diagnosed with it, I thought, if I ever get to that point, I don't want to live. And that's why I had such a burning desire to not go there. But unfortunately, it didn't last very long.
That feeling didn't last very long.
No, my health and determination faded.
Got
You know,
it.
I hit walls. I hit rock bottom for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what I know about MS and is that it affects all of us differently. I mean, there's several different kinds that it hits everyone differently within how your symptoms and how someone starts to deal with the symptoms. Yeah, I mean, so you were around 27. That's when you were diagnosed.
Yeah, at 27, I was told, don't have any more kids. I ended up with two more within, so I had three in 3 years. And when my daughter was born, I'd lost the ability to see out of my left eye. My arms didn't work very well. I had a really hard time cutting food. My left leg didn't really work. I had, two boys and my girl. My boys were wild. I called one search, the other destroy. I couldn't leave the house, or it was really difficult because my 18-month-old had no sense and he would bang in front of I just didn't trust my body to protect my kids.
Right.
So life was really hard, and I could see myself going the way I saw that woman in the wheelchair. And I thought, I don't want my kids, having to feed me in a nursing home. That's not the life I want for myself. And I certainly got quite depressed. I was depressed by my situation, by my body, by my, everything, at 30 years old, not really being able to walk, and my future was dismal. So I was not in a good place mentally nor physically.
Yeah, and there's a point that you lost your mobility. Is that what you're describing, or there's something that actually gets worse than what you are talking about right now?
So at that time, I couldn't walk very far. I could always walk, but not far. I'd use my kid's pusher as my walking frame. And I was running a gym at the time. I had to change everything I did. I used to teach step classes, and I used to run, and then I just set up circuits. I had to modify everything I did. I never in public showed my weakness. I always show strength. That's the way my dad brought us up,
Yeah.
keep calm and carry on, just keep on going. That's how I was brought up. That's how we were as a family. So I never wanted to show defeat or pain in public. But behind closed doors, I was a freaking monster. I didn't like who I was. I was
Yeah.
angry. I was frustrated. I was yelling. I had, three young kids. They're beautiful, but hey, it's loud, it's noisy, it's, they're wild. And
Well, it took me. Everyone would always ask me how I was doing, and I'm like, It could always be worse, and they would ask me if I was depressed, and whether whether it's my life in construction or just who I am, I would always be like, no, I'm not depressed. No, I'm not a pussy. I'm not depressed. What are you talking about? And I had myself convinced that I wasn't depressed and that I could deal with this, and it is what it is, and I'm going to make the best of it. But I was angry, and it took me several years, unfortunately, and my wife to point out that you keep telling yourself that you're not depressed, but you being as angry as you are, that you are so different now than you were before this happened, that anger is depression. You're depressed. And
well, you're something.
I mean, but that conversation was my turning point of feeling like my eyes opened and I needed that. In
Help.
my mind, I was letting this win twice. Not only is it limiting me physically and just the things that it does, if I'm going to be angry and carry that emotional baggage, and my explanation to myself was that I was letting it win twice. I don't want it to win at all, let alone twice.
And I really believe that our psychology affects our physiology. And it was more the angrier, more depressed I got, the worse I got physically.
Yeah.
And I don't think I realized it at the time that how much it affected me. So when I finally learned what I learned, that's why master your mind is my number one principle in my book. Never let a good disaster go to waste, because once your mind goes, once you lose control, like, it's gone. You got to wrestle it back. And those things last, they affect your body. They say, I think, anger depletes your immune system, where laughter helps your immune system.
Yeah.
So every
I can
time you
believe
get
that.
angry and rage, it affects you. That's like where you see the man having the heart attack. He's out there screaming, red face, and bang, he's down. So, mastering our thoughts and mastering that psychology, I believe, is really important, which I didn't know at the time.
Yeah. And
Because when you're in that depression, when you're so far down, and when I say depression, I try not to label things, but when you are so far down, sometimes it's hard to get out. You just feel like you're drowning.
yeah. Yes, you have a turning point. You have what is called the radical transformation. So you obviously you've reached the point to where you are probably in different levels filled with dread, thinking about the future of what the fuck, how is this even going to work, what is happening, and feeling like the sky has fallen. But you obviously haven't, that's not what happened. So tell me about the turning point and the beginning of your transformation.
Yeah, I like I said, I try to maintain that good, outer veneer that everything was okay, but it wasn't. I was disappearing, and it was like death by a million paper cuts. I was just bleeding out. Every single morning I woke up and I just wanted the day to end. And then I'd start drinking and I'd want to crawl into a bottle of wine and never come out. And I got to the point where I didn't want to live the way I was living. And I thought, I either want to drive into a tree, or I was reading Eat, Pray, Love, and I thought, hey, Elizabeth Gilbert found happiness in India. Maybe I need to go to Goa and find myself a guru. And my kids were young at the time. They were 2, 3, 4 years old, and I was going to leave. My husband said, yeah. I told him, I said, I have to leave. He goes, yes, you do. You're a nightmare. I'm like, I know. And I decided to leave my family and discover Buddhism. But thankfully, I found a Buddhist class in Melbourne, which was 4 hours away from my home. And I drove there every Wednesday. But the very first class changed my life forever. And now I understand why people are like, and I was brought up Catholic, but I'm not particularly religious now. But I'm like, I found the answer. I've got it.
Got it. Do you remember what about that first visit, the first time that you either listened or spoke to any of those people? Was there one significant thing that stands out that's when in your brain it literally went click?
I remember it like it was yesterday. So the Buddhist class was upstairs in this attic in Melbourne. And I remember, hobbling up these stairs, and our lama, our teacher, she was this little Maori girl. She was probably a lady, and she had tats from the neck down. She was tiny, but she was tough. And so we were sitting in a circle, and she said, so Kat, what's brought you here? And I told her, I've got this disease. I'm 30, I was probably 32, 33 by that point. They say I'll be in a wheelchair by the time I'm 40. I've got 3 kids who I love, but they drive me crazy. I've got a husband who, I love, but we argue all the time. And I just saw everything wrong in my life, and I just told her how much my life sucked, and how horrible things were. I was depressed, wanted to drive into a tree, and she said to me, you think your life sucks? change your fucking perception. And I was like, what? And that's when she taught me about flipping my perception. She said, your homework is this. You need to go home this week, find something you hate, and turn it into something you love. And immediately I thought, I hate Vegemite. You might not know Vegemite. Vegemite is do you know Vegemite?
Yeah. So there's the local bar and grill 4 minutes from my house. The guy that bought it several years ago is Australian, from Australia. There's a can of Vegemite on every table. There's Ned Kelly tank tops and T-shirts hanging everywhere. And I've never tasted Vegemite, but I've opened it and smelled it and was like, who the fuck eats this? He's like, oh, that's like, how you like peanut butter. I'm like, no, dude, this isn't anything like peanut. This is sickening. And I couldn't even taste it. Just
No,
smell it.
it's rough. It's rough. So I tasked myself with loving Vegemite that week. And by the end of the week, I kept trying it and I didn't like it. But then I got to the point where it was okay. But I wanted it to be my hangover food. Like, that was my ultimate goal. But by the end of the week, I got to the point where I could eat it. I wouldn't say I loved it, but I didn't hate it. And it was that moment that I realized I could change everything that I hated about my life into something that I loved. I didn't have to hate my situation. I could see what was going right. Sure, parts of my body didn't work properly, but other bits did. I had 3 kids. Why do I have to be upset about it? Some people would die to have children. Some people would love to have a house. Some people would love to have running water, toilets. I'm in Vanuatu. These people, 90% of the people here have no running water. They'll never flush a toilet in their life. They're lucky to have a grade 6 education. But that's the thing about perspective. And that's why changing your perspective is one of my superpowers and one of my 12 principles, because your entire world is filtered through your perception of it. And I had only one view. And until I was able to see the other, the idea that nothing's either good or bad, we can choose to see the ordinary or we can choose to see the extraordinary. Everything is a choice. I could choose to hate Vegemite or I could choose to love Vegemite. It's not inherently bad if some people like it. It was just my perception of it. So that changed my world forever. So once you learn to love the things you hate and know that you actually are able to, because we think, I can't, then your life changes. Just like that.
Got it. Well, and I'm glad that you mentioned one of your 12 principles. And so the book isn't never let a good disaster go to waste. It isn't just your story. It is you basically telling all of us that with these 12 principles, with if you listen to how I did this, I can you're literally reading how you can do this. And so go ahead.
In writing the book, it's not really telling anyone anything. It's just sharing my stories of disasters and how I overcame them. So I was really careful because everyone has their own experience. So I felt like, you can read, I'm a self-help junkie. I was reading Anthony Robbins when I was 18, 19. I was a door-to-door salesperson for a long time. And so, but sometimes you read these books and, they tell you to do these things. I wanted to share through all of my disasters, my mother's death and times I was suicidal and accidentally joining the army and being diagnosed with a disease. And there's so many disasters that I overcame that I thought, this is how I did it. Until one ultimate day when it all came together.
Well, you tell people that you can overcome suffering in 12 hours, and that I know that one of your principles, it's radical acceptance. Isn't that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Which is to my pig-headed brain, I can't wait for you to explain that a little bit to me.
Embracing radical acceptance?
Yes. Yeah, I think that just someone that is stubborn I think that is what in reading through all of the principles, that for whatever reason is the one that stuck out to me, that would be the one that was like the hardest for me personally to overcome. And I'm sure it isn't. It's just my reading it. That's my initial response to just knowing who I am. But
So embracing radical acceptance is simple because it's like this now. And it's never not like this now. So embracing whatever's happened has happened. So when we live in denial, that shouldn't have happened. That's living in denial. If it happened, it happened. Saying it should have, could have, would have. And Anthony Robbins, I know he always says, we should all over ourselves. Saying it should have, if it happened, it happened. Radically accept it. The only thing you have control over is how you react to it. So I always say, moment to moment, I try to think when there's a disaster, given that it's like this right now, what is my best reaction for my present happiness, but then for my future happiness? Because sometimes something happens, someone pisses you off and you just want to like attack them. You got to go, okay, this happened. Is it in my best self-interest to attack? Or my future happiness, if I say these things, that's never going back in the jar. The tooth, you can't put the Vegemite back in the
right.
tube, because
So,
once you say something, you can just tear down relationships and ruin things in a moment, just like that.
and so radical acceptance, the reality of that is me or
Reality.
anyone literally just admitting what exists. It isn't me trying to say, yeah, that's not going to happen, or no, I can't accept that. It's just you actually being honest about what is actually going on right now. That's the
Yeah.
acceptance of you not, yeah, you just using the word denial, just you using that word. I completely understand and know that wouldn't be difficult for me to overcome. It was me reading that and turning it into something that it obviously isn't.
Yeah. So my Buddhist teacher used to have us do this mantra all the time. It's like this now. It's like this now. And even now. So it's accepting the moment in the moment, because we only ever have the present moment. And so often we suffer because we worry about the future and we ruminate about the past. But if you're in the now, and that's what meditation really teaches. Meditation, and when I first learned meditation, I was like, oh my God, what a boring waste of time. Breathe in, breathe out. I thought, nah, this is not for me. But my teacher, like fierce as she was, said, you don't learn meditation to sit there and breathe in, breathe out. You learn that you are the one who controls your mind. It's
Right.
only you talking in your head.
Yeah.
And so,
Isn't that the truth?
so when someone betrays you, so my book starts off with my husband leaving me on my 40th birthday for a friend of mine. I can get into my story and be really upset because I'm worried about the future, or I'm ruminating about what just happened. But if I just can keep bringing myself back to the present, right now I've got a bed to sleep in. I've got wine in the fridge. I've got a chocolate. Right now in this present moment, why am I suffering? I can choose right now. And if I can bring my mind to the present, radically accept what has happened. I can't change that.
Right.
We're sleeping together. I can't change that. But what I can change is my moment, how I react to it. And was I angry? Yes. Can I forgive? Yes. And I have a choice. If I don't forgive, I remain angry. I hurt myself. I send love and forgiveness. I heal myself. I let it go. It's over. So
That
it's length of
that's
time you. Yep.
Go
Go.
ahead. That
Oh.
that the story about you on that kayak that next day,
Oh yeah.
and seeing your daughter and Talia walking, that whole story, you telling that day, you discussing that 48 hours of life is is absolutely mind blowing, and the way that you handled it, and just in telling us how you were handling it and what you were thinking, and seeing you literally reading you going through that process. I'm it. I'm a 52-year-old, 33-year construction worker, and me reading those pages and you telling that story sunk in to me, and it was just mind blowing. I can't imagine it, and I couldn't put the book down, and it was just ridiculous, fucking ridiculous.
Well, do you know what? And I'm going to challenge anybody right now going through anything that, and it doesn't matter how horrible it was, husband cheating, parent doing whatever it is, if you can just radically forgive, it is the most empowering thing, especially when your husband cheats. When you can get over it in 12 hours, which people question me, but I'm like, and what is over anyway? But I forgave and I moved on. That was such an empowering experience to front up to my kayaking group. We're doing a competition. We were in a race, and to front up to see these people and to share that my husband left me last night and I'm okay with it. And there's my daughter walking around the lake with my friend who slept with my husband and being okay with it. That was so empowering. Rather than like, normally you'd be so angry and crying and sad, but I had a choice. And I'll tell you what, one felt a hell of a lot better than the other one would have. I'm telling you right now. And that's the thing. You don't forgive for other people. You do not forgive for them. You forgive for yourself. Because if I didn't let go of my pain and anger, and I told a story, and it was so funny because I pulled up to the lake, and my friend came up to the window, and it was really awkward. And I had a choice in that moment in front of my daughter who was in the car with me. I could be angry and be like, "You're not going for a walk with her, that bitch." Or I could go, "Sure, you can go walk the dog with your new stepmother," or whatever this will be. And they've gone on to have 5 kids, by the way. My husband's now got 8 kids. He's had 5 with her. So I had a choice to be angry or to accept, and it felt a lot better.
Hey, obviously it did, which is it's just incredible.
But I didn't get there. The only reason I got there was because I did 12 years of Buddhism. I spent 12 years practicing for showtime. I spent 12 years meditating on letting go of my suffering and knowing I had a choice and flipping it. It's like anger. I want to kill them. No, send love. No, I'm really angry and mad. No, you need to send forgiveness. So it's constantly watching the mind and then flipping it. And it's not easy. It's not easy. It's counterintuitive. It's basically doing everything that you feel like you shouldn't be doing. You've got to do the opposite.
Yeah. Well, not lots. Well, maybe lots. There's more than one self-help. You know what I mean? Whether someone's Googling it or has heard about it, what makes your 12-hour transformation method different than other self-help and self-awareness programs or ideas that are out there? What makes yours so different?
I don't know, obviously, all the programs. I've read a lot. I've done a lot. I think what I offer is something different. I've studied Buddhism and Stoicism and had so many life experiences. I spent so much time really over the night in my life really distilling down.
Good.
So yes, I don't know that my steps are any different, but what I say is I really believe a lot of people will sit in the story. I think that's one of the biggest differences. A lot of people will sit in the story and talk about what happened. I'm like, drop the story. First of all, I'm really one for radical acceptance as well, which I think we kind of talked about. But I also think about karma. What did I do to create the situation? What was my role and responsibility? I say we're both the master of our disasters and we are the creator of our detonators. And we always have a choice. When we can look back and say, okay, well, how did I create this in my world? Or how can I, sometimes we think, oh, he lied to me. Well, have I ever lied? They say when you point a finger, there's four pointing back at you. So taking radical responsibility for my situation, and that's what I think everyone needs to do. It's not about the other person. As soon as someone starts telling me, oh, but you know what they did, he did, it doesn't matter. Shut it down. It does not matter.
And so what if someone tells you that you're basically saying, look, radical acceptance, stop being in denial. Just accept the actual now because you can't change it. It's just happened. How, if someone tries to tell me or you or is someone doing that, well, you're just giving up. You're just giving up. It's not radical acceptance. You're just a quitter. You're just giving up and just can't handle this. What is your immediate retort to like, no, that's actually not, it's the opposite. How do you explain that difference?
I think that prayer, may I have the wisdom to know the things that I can change, the things that I can't not, and the knowledge to know the difference, right?
Yeah, right.
If you can do something, and this is like the best. There's never a good time to stress and worry. Number one, if you can do something about it, don't worry, go do it. And if there's nothing you can do about it, let it go. Those are your two choices. Ruminate, worry, stress, do something, or let it go. You don't need to worry about it. You don't need the story. That's what my dad taught me, We don't need to get stuck in our story. That happened, right? There's a time. Take your time to grieve. And that's why I say you can suffer for 12 hours, 12 days, 12 years, or a lifetime. Suffering's a choice. And you can carry that bag. You can carry that sack. And I talk about in yoga, they call it like samskara. It's like you're carrying around this sack of all these things that happen to you in life. And you don't want to let it go. It's like, put the sack down. Why are you carrying this pain with you? What is the point?
Yeah, right.
Let it go. Not for them, but for you.
Yeah, part of the acceptance is being honest with yourself and asking yourself what responsibility, no matter how shitty the situation is, whatever it is, do I have any culpability? At what level of responsibility do I have in this situation?
And look, and sometimes you really can't come at it. Like, say someone dies, it's like, it's not my fault. So that's why one of my principles is enable empathy and compassion, because sometimes, horrible things happen and they just happen. And when that happens, you have to think, I'm not the first person this has happened to. Now I understand how everyone else feels when they lose a loved one. Now I can empathize with them because I've experienced it. Because all of us in life, none of us get through life without getting hurt. None of us get through life without getting lied to, cheated on, betrayed in some way, somehow, or losing loved ones. There's a great Buddhist fable that I love, which is a woman loses her child, and she said, Buddha, my baby's died. Can you bring him back to life? And he said, yes. If you can go and find me a mustard seed from a household who knows no suffering, who's never lost anyone. It doesn't exist. It's just life. And that's why my book is called Making Sense of a Life of Absurdity, the subtitle. Because in life is birth, sickness, and then death. We have suffering in our life, but we suffer because of the human condition. We suffer because we're alive.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned looking through the rose-colored glasses of karma, compassion, and empathy. And so does that spread itself across to all 12 principles, or does it lean more towards one than any other? Or is it just something that everyone struggling that needs to break through that struggle, you need to have those glasses on, or you're just going to continue to struggle?
Well, rose-colored glasses. A lot of times people say, what I teach, is it not toxic positivity? Which to me is an oxymoron. It's like jumbo shrimp. It's, how is life ever made better? And there's a Stoic saying that said, how can anything ever become better by me bemoaning it, by me just focusing on what's going wrong? How's it ever better? It's not ever better that way. So, for example, on the night of my husband's when he left. When I say betrayal, I say betrayal because I always think, who betrayed who first? I never cheated, but was I always a perfect wife? I doubt it. So, I think it's really important to look at our own lives. But that night, I thought, do I want to be the estranged wife, the single mom, I've got no money, I'm a poor single mother, or do I want to be living? I should show you where I'm living right now. I am in paradise. That me on the cover, that's basically what I'm looking at right this second.
Right.
And that's what I focused. I thought, do I want to be stuck in my head and thinking about all the things that have happened and poor me, or do I want to manifest a better future? And a prosperous one and a happy one. And that's what I got. We get what we focus on. Our thoughts become our habits. Our habits become our world. So it always comes down to our thoughts.
Yeah, I 100% believe in that. And one of your principles is no one needs to wear your pain, which is completely true. It's not easy. And depending on what level of pain you're in, I think that you're blinded to how you're letting that affect everyone else. How can people carry their grief and trauma without harming other? You know what I mean? How do you get through that?
First of all, I'm really careful about using language too. I think the word trauma is dangerous. Everyone seems to be traumatized these days. Everyone seems to have a narcissist in their lives that they're blaming for their suffering.
Yeah.
So I think I'm like, so someone's a narcissist because they didn't do or they did something that you don't like. So I really question that kind of talk. The idea of trauma, is it you've got a problem? Like, what's trauma? It's actually you just have a life. Shanti Davis said people think that having a problem is a problem when it's not. It's actually just being alive. So, sorry, I'm just trying to remember what I'm talking to.
About how do we have other people not wear our pain? How do we deal with whatever we're going through and have it not affect everyone else around us? That what are the best tools for someone to actually be able to manifest and accomplish that?
So, no, in my book, I talk about when my husband that night. I thought if I keep anger and sad over my husband, the end of a relationship, my kids would wear that pain. As it was, I'm not perfect. I did get angry. I mean, look, there was a ton of things that happened after that, but I gave myself, and I'd get angry and things would happen. I'm like, nope, flip it. If it doesn't serve me, it doesn't deserve me, ditch it and flip it. And you're talking about the MS groups, and it's been really a challenge. It's the reason why I left a lot of support groups, because people get on there and they like to vent and they like to talk about their problems, and it seems like they just want someone to pat them on their back. And I think I call that idiot compassion, really, when you're like, oh yeah, he shouldn't have done that and she shouldn't have done that. Or, you're okay to feel that way. It's like, well, how could you flip it? What's going right in your life?
Yeah.
It's not about going and looking for sympathy. When you just go and tell people that, and you fuel their fire, you feel their grief, it's not helpful. It's stupid. It's idiotic, really, because it's not empowering. So you look for ways that are going to empower you and make you stronger rather than to keep you suffering.
Yeah,
because when you suffer, everyone around you suffers. And I get on those groups and I see the things people say and I think, oh my God, And then you try to be positive and they're like, oh, I just need someone to listen to me. I'm like,
literally, that's what I was just going to say. On one of those groups, I thought that I was helping by literally, I tell a story about people ask me, how I'm doing and and I'm like, look, every single morning when I walk out my door, I pull a ticket because I'm going on a ride. I don't know what ride I'm going on, but with that disease, with that kind of disease, I don't know what symptoms are going to show up today. I don't know when they're going to show up. I don't know how it's going to make me feel, but I've 100% accepted that I'm going on an unknown ride. I'm not going to let it just stop me. I'm not going to let it shut my life down. I'm going to go about my life how it's going to, anyways. And then I'm going to handle whatever happens. I'm going to handle it the best way that I can. And I was explaining this, and just trying to tell this person, you need to first accept what's going on. You have to accept that this sucks. What you're going through is bullshit. There's a lot of people that will have no idea what your life is like. But if you don't at least accept that you can't change it, but what you can change, like literally what you've been talking about, is your perception of this. You're letting it beat you twice if you don't just accept, well, I'm not sure what today is going to be like, but what I can tell you is I'm going to make the fucking best of it. I'm not going to let it kick my ass, whatever the situation was. That's just how I am. And I tried to go on there and kind of say that in so many different words, and I was basically attacked for not supporting this person, and I was like, holy shit.
And again, people getting stuck in their story. What's going wrong in my life? Well, what's going right? Why is this bullshit? And why shouldn't you have it? Why should everyone else suffer? Why should people in India be going through garbage dumps looking for food for their kids? Why? Like, how bad is your situation really? Because when you go, this is bullshit, this is awful, compared to what? Compared to what?
Right.
Even when you're dying, even when you're in you're in some... In the West, we've got some great drugs we've got access to medically, There's seldom a time in the West, like I always say, we're scat pickers. We look at that one little thing not going right. Oh, you've got a disease. Oh, you've got a doctor. You've got a hospital. I mean, what I've seen in Vanuatu and in my travels around the world, wow, horrific.
Right.
No medical care. Then you've got a problem. But that's my whole point. They have problems here. I've seen horrific things, but they still have a smile on their face. They still see what's going right. So you can label what this is. Oh, this is bullshit. And you go, this is what I've got. It's like this now. Radical acceptance. It's like this now. It's not bullshit. It's not good. It's not bad until you put that story. You're telling that story. This is bullshit. Why is it bullshit? Why is it not? Oh, what an obstacle! Oh, I've got an obstacle. I've got an opportunity. I got a disaster to master.
And one of your chapters,
one saying it's good or bad.
One of your chapters is about overcoming betrayal, and if I'm hearing you right, literally overcoming betrayal is using several principles, but it starts with the radical acceptance. That's your first step in overcoming betrayal. Is that true?
Yes, and it's also the fact betrayal is a story. There is no betrayal without being betrayed. So again, it's even that in itself is a story. It's a language, and it's a choice. You got to look at what was your responsibility. What someone did. It might not be betrayal to them. To them, they might be like, well, I fell in love. I did this thing. They might not see it as betrayal. So everyone sees everything through their own perspective. And like I said, betrayal is just a perception. Nobody can betray you unless you feel betrayed. And you can forgive. You can realize, oh my God, I'm not perfect. In my life, I have not been perfect. So you can radically forgive. You can let go. If you're so angry because someone did something, you're like, okay. Fine. Let them. The whole let them theory has been huge with Mel Robbins. They did that. Let them. That's over, because every relationship changes. Every single person in your life you will lose. You will lose everyone you love. You will go to the grave with no one. You will go with nothing. People lose money. Their car breaks. Their phone breaks. It's like, if I lose an earring, I'm like, it was never mine always anyway. I was always going to lose it. The length of time I get upset that I lost this thing, but I lost my earring. It's like, yeah. You're always going to. So the length of time you suffer with the fact of change, and things change, they say like a 30,000 times parts per minute. Like that book is not going to look like that book in 100 years. It's going to look very different.
Right.
So the length of time you suffer with that change is up to you.
I believe you. I completely believe you. Thank you for that.
I don't
Um,
know. Does that sort of explain it? Like, if you're coming at this from saying there's certain things I'm challenged by.
I shouldn't be saying that. No one should be saying that. I guess, right? If because if when I look back to even how we started our conversation, that me thinking about radical acceptance is, and me telling myself, man, that's really something I'm going to struggle with. Well,
But
I'm I'm literally
this is a
setting
moment
myself
to
up for
moment
failure.
thing. I got my 12 principles to become a master of disaster because we're always in a disaster. Like, this is like a roller coaster ride. It's like, it's up, it's down, it's up. It's like, it's happening. It's got showtime. So I just tell people, here are the principles. The length of time you suffer knowing them should get shorter and shorter, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. You know, things still happen. You still have to process it, react, and then go, and then you keep asking, what's a better way to live? How do
Right.
I want to live my life? How do I want to show up in the world? And what I explain in my book too is like, how do you want to be remembered? You know, who are you? People don't remember, you know, that you cleaned your garage, and it's like, no, they remember the kindness and the compassion. Everything that you put out into the world, you get back. The more love, kindness, and compassion you give out in the world, it comes back. But that takes work. For someone like me, I'm ultimately a very selfish person, I think. You know, I'm always thinking about myself. You know, when's my coffee? When am I going to have lunch? You know, is my chicken bigger than your piece of chicken? But,
Yeah,
and that
that's
takes
that's
work.
human nature.
It's human nature, and that's why it needs to be a practice. So in Buddhism, we actually practice planting good karmic seeds. I'd go to these ashrams, and it's almost, you have to fight with people to open the door first, to make people go in front of you in line. No, you have the last piece of bread. You know, I'll get more bread in my life if I just give you bread. It's counterintuitive. The whole thing is counterintuitive. But the thing is, everything we give out, we get back. When we give out kindness, it will come back tenfold. But that's hard to remember. So that's why it's a daily practice. And that's why, you know, we have to sometimes, and in Buddhism, we have actual, you know, practices where we go out and plant good karmic seeds. If you want your tomato plant to grow, you need to plant a tomato seed. It will never grow if you never plant it. Until you plant those seeds, you will never reap what you sow, ever.
True. And so obviously you believe that karma exists 100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
So
believe everything is created, that we create our realities.
yeah. I had a spiritual. I did an interview with a spiritual polymath. She's a master of 25 different modalities, whether it's Reiki or tarot and in different things. And one of the things she told me several different times is that the universe is the energy in the universe is always working for you. It's trying to help you. I don't completely understand it, but that I don't believe it's not possible. I mean, to me, thinking about that kind of energy is a lot like karma in my mind. I don't know anything about Buddhism, but I've always felt karma was real. I've always lived my life, that I can make a choice to do something, and 1,000 times in my life, I've said, no, 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 I'm not doing that. I don't need that kind of karma following me around. I mean, I've said that so many times over the years.
So, yeah, so you make a point that the universe is always working for you, which I don't know if I agree with that, actually, because the universe for me, I believe, is always throwing back at you what you put out into it. Actually, I believe you put out good, you get good. You put out evil, you get evil. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily believe that. I think it's a good way. I do talk about trying to practice pronoia, and so you're not living paranoid that everyone's not liking you or loving you. But but people won't like you. If you're a nasty, unkind person, the universe is not going to throw you kind people your way. Either maybe not in this life, but maybe in the next life, you know?
Yeah.
If you sit there and eat cheeseburgers and fries and don't exercise, the universe is going to give you a lot of more problems. And that's the thing as well. We talk about like support groups or any group. I look at, and I sound rude, but I can look at people and go, how much are you doing in your life to make your life better? How much people go, I can't do anything anymore. Can you read a child a book? There are things you can do to help people, but you're too stuck in our own suffering to actually see what you can do to help people. So, are you eating properly? Are you moving properly? I always say, if you can, I couldn't lift my left leg for over 10 years. For 10 years, my left leg didn't lift at all. I don't know if you can see it, but it can lift now.
Nice job.
And I couldn't do that for 10 years. And I didn't get angry. I just, every day I just thought, I'll just try and walk. Just try to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And I could, it was hard. It was a struggle, but I just kept doing it because it was there to be done.
Yeah.
And not attached to the final result. So joyful effort. But I think it's so important. The world's just not going to get better like that. You need to make it better. You need to make it happen. I don't believe you can just sit back and go, oh, come on, universe. Come on, bring in the good stuff. It's like, no, you got to work for it.
Yeah, true. And it's you have to make cognizant effort to reevaluate what brings you joy. If you accept the reality of the situation that you can't physically or emotionally or whatever do these list of things, well, what can you do? Because I'm sure that some of those are probably going to make you happy or put a smile on your face or change your attitude from being so negative or depressed or suffering, and you've lived with MS for going on 30 years or over 30 years.
No, not quite. Nearly 30
not
years.
quite.
Yeah.
What has helped the most? What has been the biggest that has helped you maintain you being positive, maintain you feeling like you've overcome? You know what I mean?
Moment to moment, knowing I have a choice in how I think, how I move, how I eat, and it's not about never getting down. And because I do suffer sometimes, for sure. I get angry and frustrated and feel like, I wrote a book and I was like, thinking, it's going to be this multi-million-dollar bestseller, and it's a lot of work. It's not there yet. And, you work so hard and you do so many things and it doesn't work. And I could stay down or I could learn from it and think, this is how everyone else feels like when things don't work out for them. So I think the biggest thing I've learned, and I don't talk about MS. I mean, everyone's got something. I believe everyone's got something. So I don't, one person's MS, you're NMO, someone's got cancer, mental health,
right?
Whatever. Everyone's got a story. Everyone's got a story, man. I think that's from Pretty Woman. But
probably
I think the best thing is to know that we always have a choice how we live. We can live in faith and we can live in love and gratitude, or we can live in pain and suffering and we can see all the things not going right. And it's always a choice. It doesn't matter. It's always a choice.
You teach people how to interrupt those spiral thoughts, you know what I mean? And suffering, you teach people how to do it in real time, so to speak. So what can you pick 3 ways if someone's listening right now that is on that path where they feel like they're just spiraling out of control, or just they can't change that mindset? What's the first thing? What's their first steps? What do they need to do right now?
First of all, I like to say, picture a big stop sign and just say stop. Just stop. And then just breathe. Come into the moment, breathe in, breathing in a white light of peace, and exhale, just let go. So I really believe, first of all, you just have to say stop. Imagine a big stop sign, stop. Breathe in a white light of peace, And then exhale and just say, let go. Just let go.
Right.
And then really, this one is a really good one. I believe this thad can ultimately change why you're suffering almost instantly. So I want you to do this with me.
Okay.
So maybe just close your eyes. And I'd like you to imagine being somewhere in a country and seeing a child that you might have seen who's impoverished. Maybe a child about 4 or 5 years old. So I want you to just imagine that you can look at this child in their eyes and see yourself looking at them. And they're dressed in rags and they're looking up at you and they're smiling. And I want you to tell this child who has nothing, who's smiling up at you, why you're suffering right now. Tell this child all the reasons you're unhappy. And then open your eyes. And so when you can get this perspective, how did you feel with that?
You feel insignificant. I don't feel insignificant as a human. You feel like perspective.
Your problems.
Yeah, you feel the perspective.
Yeah. So it's about changing your perception around your problems. Is this a problem or is this an opportunity? And being grateful for the problems you don't have. I love doing comparison shopping. You know, who doesn't love a bit of comparison shopping? And I'm really good at it, by the way.
You cut out.
But I look at my problem and I think, but I don't have that problem. And it's comparison shopping on your problems. It's like, do you want to trade up or trade down? You know, it's the whole, the man that complains about his shoes until he meets the man with no feet.
Yeah, yeah.
It can always be worse.
It can always be worse. Yeah. I'll have people on the job site, how's it going today, Thad? And I'll be like, well, I could bitch, but it's not going to change anything. Or sometimes I say, well, you know what, dude, it could always be worse. It depends on what's happening. I normally am not saying something negative, but when there's something going on around you on a huge construction site that's out of your control, sometimes that's my best answer is, you know what, dude, it could always be worse.
What a great place to practice being a master of disaster. It's like, that
Yeah.
happened. It's happened. You know, that crane fell down. Okay. You can't change it. What do we do now?
Yeah, it's literally a daily occurrence with something like that. That's for sure.
Yeah, always.
And so we know that you have 12 principles. And someone that reads this book gets to go through every one of them in detail.
Yes, it's not like a 12 principles. It's really just my story. It's me just sharing my story. And I do have a course coming up. So I have another book called How to Overcome Suffering in 12 Hours and a course I'm developing around that, which isn't released yet. But if anybody wants to be a beta tester, please send me a message. I'm happy to have you on as a beta tester. But my book really just takes you through my story from my childhood. You know, I had migraines growing up, my mother's death, and then, you know, overcoming MS, and then not, and then where I am now. So it's just the journey, and people read it and they see a different way of living.
Yeah. Do you think that in all the people that you have dealt with, is there a common thread? Is there something is there something that people struggle with more than anything else?
Letting go of their story. And it's really interesting, right? Because you can listen to someone else tell their story and it's really apparent to you to go, hey, dude, you know, she left you. Just let it go. Like, send your love. You're better off without them. But when you're stuck in that story, it's sometimes really hard. So even I had a conversation with someone not long ago. Even people that do this work have a real hard time at seeing it when it's happening to me. Because often it's like, no, it's happening to me now. It's like, well, what did you expect? So I think a lot of times people get really stuck in their story. It's almost like a different story when it's happening to them. But I'm like, no, it's actually universal. Our suffering, our stories are universal. There's nothing unique about your suffering. You think your story is unique. It's not. It's not. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club of life, really. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so I think whenever anyone says, yeah, I'm hurting because of, it's like, because of what? You're still stuck there. So it's constantly trying to change the story and paint the new perspective and showing them what story do you want to come next. Because we are the master of our disasters. We're the creator of our detonators. We really need to be aware of our karma. We need to be aware of the conditions that we keep sending moment to moment. What story are we sending out? Do we want paradise? Do we want love, happiness? Send that out and know that there's a great Korean proverb that says, in life we have 10,000 joys and 10,000 sorrows. So it's like, go through your sorrows because joy is coming. Don't worry. Just breathe in. It happened. Let it go. Move on. Bring in joy.
Yeah. I think out of everything we've talked about, out of everything that I've read, and I don't know why, I mean, you might be able to tell me, but what literally stuck out the absolute most to me is no one can hurt you as bad as you can hurt yourself. And I mean,
Our
it's just,
thoughts.
yeah, it is really. And when I take that one statement that I read in here, I can almost apply it to, I don't know about all of the principles, but I can apply it to several of how, if I just go back to no one else hurts me as bad as I hurt myself, and you think about the letting go, and you think about not being in denial, and you think about just accepting, and I can be angry, I can be all of these things and have it affect everyone else, or I can just live in the now. And your your handling of whatever you're going through, exactly what you're saying is that the way that you choose to handle it is either going to let it continue to exist so nothing changes and you remain suffering, you remain unhappy, or you literally are fixing yourself.
You know what word I love is responsibility. We
Yeah.
have the ability. We have the ability to respond. Always, from moment to moment. And do you know what the secret to having it all is?
I don't.
Knowing that you already do. The thing is, we keep waiting for some imagined future to bring us happiness. We keep waiting for more money or the holiday or whatever it is. But you only ever have now. So radical acceptance in the now means you never not have now. You never not have the present. For this moment, you'll never get back. And the future is unknown. So you'll only ever have this moment known now. And so if you
Yeah.
can't know that right now you have everything you need to be happy, there's nothing else you need. You don't need anything else. You don't need a beer in your hand. You don't need, you don't need any more air miles. You just can be happy now. And if you're not, you miss that moment. You'll never get it back. So the secret to having it all is knowing that you already do. There's nothing else you need.
That's pretty. That's pretty deep. That's pretty deep. It sounds simple, but if you actually stop and think about it, that's pretty deep. That's cool.
Well, eternity is now. And that's what my book is about. It's just a constant reminder. It's a constant reminder. It's a constant wake up call. It's like, wake up. You don't get this life again. You don't get this moment again. You don't get this time again. Wake
Right.
up.
That's exactly true. The If I'm looking at the 12 principles, cast off the mantle of victimhood, respond with radical acceptance, master your thoughts, talking about karma. I mean, literally, it's to me, it's really cool that you have them separated, you have them named, but how much they literally intertwine and how much one affects the other, to me, allows people to understand it easier. Does that make sense? I think that when you can connect one of them to the other and see how they all complement each other. At least me, at least my brain and how I work, reading them and understanding and thinking about it with this conversation with you and you explaining them. It's just really cool how they all work together, and I can
They
see that.
do.
Yeah.
And writing them and coming up with the 12 principles, even though they came up like epiphanies on the night of the betrayal, when I spent years, I mean years, word for word, every single word in those 12 principles, an explanation of them was, thought about for years. And they're very precise. And every single word in that, and you're right, they are intertwined, because you can think of this one, it's like, and they do carry over, like, cast off the mantle of victimhood. Cast it off. Stop being a victim. Be the victor. Don't be the victim. Cast it off.
Yeah,
Let it go.
exactly.
I mean,
Tell me,
they're all good.
they are all good. Tell me again the name of the book that isn't released yet, but is coming. Do you know when it will be released? And tell me again what the name of it is.
Well, we should have a competition. Well, it was originally, and my book was originally called How to Get Over Betrayal in 12 Hours, a self-help guide for the soul. But obviously, it's not just about betrayal. It's about disease. It's about divorce. It's about irritating people. How do you get over the suffering of suffering? So it's probably going to be called now How to Get Over Suffering, How to Overcome and Transform Suffering in 12 Hours.
Got it.
That's the course as well.
And is there a link? Is there a website? How does, if anyone is listening to this, and obviously when this is all done and it's on Spotify and iTunes and on YouTube, and everyone is going to be able to find you, and if somebody wanted to look you up right now to find this book or to find your course or to reach out and have a conversation with you, whether it's vocal or online or however, what are the ways that someone could do that right now?
Yep, just hop on my website, katfinnerty.com, and I'm on Facebook, Insta, and really I'm on Messenger, and I'm someone, call me. I'm not afraid of, people are, I put myself out there, I put my phone numbers I'm available. I'm fine. I'm good. I love to chat. I'm here to help. I'm here to serve. So please, reach out. I always say, if I can help just one person overcome suffering, it's all worth it. And
it is all worth it.
It is.
Well, I sincerely appreciate you giving me this opportunity to chat. I already have I have a female friend that's bringing. They're coming over this weekend and do a little bit of dancing and play some games and have some food. And she knew about this recording, and I shared the book, and so her and her aunt are excited to see it and excited to read it and excited to see this. And so it's fun. It's fun to just see how many different people of different walks of life who
And
hasn't experienced.
The audiobook is free on Spotify Premium.
Okay.
So, and the audiobook's a really great way of listening to me talk for 12 hours.
Nice.
So no, the audiobook is actually really, really good. So I really suggest people that really struggle to read, myself included these days. I don't know, my eyes are fine, but anyway, I like audiobooks. I like to go for walks. Anyway, I really suggest checking out the audiobook. Okay. It's on audiobooks, everything.
Awesome. Well, I will share that with them as well. So I will be looking for the new stuff. Maybe we can look forward to having a conversation in the future. I appreciate you taking the time to do this, and it's what you're doing is very, very cool. I hope that there's different times sitting in such a beautiful place like you are now, like the cover of your book. I hope that there are times that you pat yourself on the back, or that you at least acknowledge to yourself how awesome it is what you've done, and in you taking what you've been through and sharing it so that you can help other people. That if a lot of other people felt like life about you did, and were willing to share and to teach, what a better place we would find ourselves in. So sincerely, I thank you for what you've done, and for coming
Well,
on and talking.
actually, it means a lot that you said that because sometimes you feel like you're just talking into the ether, you know. So it really means a lot that someone like you who said, "Do you want me to be on my podcast? Do you know the name of it?" I'm like, someone that I'm so humbled and honored that you'd ask me. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, this will be out soon, and I thank you. I thank you very much. I hope that you enjoy whatever the time difference. I mean, where I am, it's 7:44 p.m., and I think that you are in early afternoon.
Yeah, 1:45 now. Wow. In the afternoon, yeah, in Espiritu Santo, Vanuatu.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you very much.
Pleasure.